Hi, my name is Rainer and this is my channel Rainierbooks. Welcome to this week 36 video. 36 weeks of the year have already gone by, and today I'm going to give you an update about how reading goes, what reading is planned, what plans have changed. There's something to tell you about that, and what else I'm doing in this life and in this world. And also I think the major point, and that's why we'll call that video mainly new books in September. I rushed through a lot of articles and pages where I could see which books are going to be published in September, and I found 7 books. 7 books that I find very interesting. That's not meaning that I will acquire all those 7 books. At least I will get them sent to me. Then I would be very, very glad, of course, but I will recommend those 7 books because I think they sound interesting to me, and I would love to see them one of these days. Not necessarily this month, since I'm not buying books crazily anymore like I did before. I found 7 books this month that I thought to be very interesting that already have been published. I think 4 of those books have already been published, 4 or 5, and the other ones are coming a little later this month of September. Today's the 5th of September. Welcome to the 5th of September. The first book is, I already spoke about that book when I gave my prediction for the long list for the Booker Prize, because I thought this book might be on that list, but it isn't. It wasn't. And that is The Base Rock by Evie Wyld. That was published on the 1st of September by Pantheon now in the United States. It had been published in the United Kingdom earlier this year already. This book, The Base Rock by Evie Wyld, it says in the publisher's summary here, it's about Sarah accused of being a witch. She's fleeing for her life. It's about Ruth in the aftermath of World War II. She is navigating a new marriage and the strange waters of the local community. 6 decades later, Viv, still mourning the death of her father, is cataloging Ruth's belongings in Ruth's now empty house. As each woman's story unfolds, it becomes increasingly clear that their choices are circumscribed in ways big and small by the men who seek to control them. But in sisterhood, there's also the possibility of survival and a new way of life. I have to do that again. Intricately crafted and compulsively readable, The Base Rock burns bright with love and fury, a devastating indictment of violence against women, an empowering portrait of their resilience through the ages. That sounds very interesting to me and makes it one of the 7 books that I think are very, very much interesting. A lot interesting in this month of September of 2020. The second book is already been published on September 1 by Random House in the United States, and this is Emma Cline. Her novel The Girls was a big success in 2016. There was a lot of discussions about the author in the aftermath of that novel, and now she's back on September 1 in 2020 with a new book, a collection of short stories called Daddy. A thrilling new voice in American fiction. That was Jennifer Egan about The Girls, but what is Daddy about? An absentee father collects his son from boarding school after a shocking act of violence. A nanny to a celebrity family hides out in Laurel Canyon in the aftermath of a tabloid scandal. A young woman sells her underwear to strangers. A notorious guest arrives at a placid, not-quite rehab in the Southwest. In 10 remarkable stories, Emma Cline portrays moments when the ordinary is disturbed, when daily life buckles, revealing the perversity and violence pulsing under the surface. She explores characters navigating the edge, the limits of themselves and those around them, power dynamics in families and relationships, the distance between their true and false selves. They want connection, but what they provoke is often closer to self-sabotage. What are the costs of one's choices? Of the moments when we act or fail to act. These complexities are at the heart of Daddy, Emma Cline's sharp-eyed illumination of the contrary impulses that animate our inner lives. Published by Riverhead on September 1, Daddy by Emma Cline. A winner of the National Book Award. The National Book Award will have its long list on September 18, and the winner of 2018 is already out with a new novel. Sigrid Nunez, and her new novel is called What Are You Going Through? It will be published by Riverhead on September 8. A woman describes a series of encounters she has with various people in the ordinary course of her life. An ex she runs into by chance at a public forum, an Airbnb owner unsure how to interact with her guests, a stranger who seeks help comforting his elderly mother, a friend of her youth now hospitalized with terminal cancer. In each of these people, the woman finds a common need, the urge to talk about themselves and to have an audience to their experiences. The narrator orchestrates this chorus of voices for the most part as a passive listener until one of them makes an extraordinary request, drawing her into an intense and transformative experience of her own. That is the new novel, What Are You Going Through by Sigrid. Next book is not a fictional book. It is a book by an author that I really admire after I read her novel, The Other Americans, that was also nominated for, I think, the shortlist of the National Book Award last year. That book was called The Other Americans by Laila Lalami. And Laila Lalami is now coming with a new book on September the 22nd by Pantheon, published by Pantheon in the United States, and this is called Conditional Citizens. A very important, a very up-to-date book that really takes up an issue that we have in the discussion in the very divisive United States of today. What does it mean to be American? In this starkly illuminating and impassioned book, Pulitzer Prize finalist Laila Lalami recounts her unlikely journey from Moroccan immigrant to US citizen, using it as a starting point for her exploration of the rights, liberties, and protections that are traditionally associated with American citizenship. Tapping into history, politics, and literature, she elucidates how accidents of birth, such as national origin, race, and gender, that once determined the boundaries of Americanness still bear shadows today. Lalami poignantly illustrates how white supremacy survives through adaptation and legislation, with the result that a caste system is maintained that keeps the modern equivalent of white male landowners at the top of the social hierarchy. Conditional citizens, she argues, are all the people with whom America embraces with one arm and pushes away with the other. Brilliantly argued and deeply personal, Conditional Citizens weaves together Lalami's own experiences with explorations of the place of non-whites in the broader American culture. Can't wait to get my hands on this one. Conditional Citizens by Laila Lalami, published by Pantheon on September the 22nd. I think a very important book, even in this year of 2020, where we have an ongoing election, where Americanness is discussed very, very widely and very broadly. On September 29, another new novel in a series of novels will be published by the wonderful publisher Farrar, STrauss and Giroux in New York City, and this book is called Jack, and it's by Marilynne Robinson. And all the Gilead fans among us, among you, I still don't know how it is pronounced correctly, are of course totally enthusiastic about that. Marilynne Robinson's mythical world of Gilead, Iowa. The setting of her novels Gilead, Home, and Laila, and now Jack, and its beloved characters have illuminated and interrogated the complexities of American history, the power of our emotions, and the wonders of a sacred world. Jack is Robinson's fourth novel in this now classic series. In it, Robinson tells the story of John Ames Bolton, the prodigal son of Gilead's Presbyterian minister, and his romance with Della Miles, a high school teacher who's also the child of a preacher. The deeply felt, tormented, star-crossed interracial romance resonates with all the paradoxes of American life then and now. Robinson's Gilead novels, which have won 1 Pulitzer and 2 National Book Critics Circles Awards, are a vital contribution to contemporary American literature and a revelation of our national character and humanity. And that book is out by the end of September by Farrar, STrauss and Giroux, Marilynne Robinson's Jack. And now it's time to move north. You know that I'm very interested in Canadian literature, and on September 8th, I'm so sorry, on September 8th, the long list of the Scotiabank Gilla Prize for the best Canadian work of fiction is going to be announced and going to be published, and of course I will make a reaction video on that where I'm going to present all the nominees of the long list and which ones I will try to get my hands on and which ones I will try to read. Maybe this debut novel is on that list. Katie Bickwell publishes her novel Always Brave, Sometimes Kind on the 29th of September by Touchwood Editions in Canada. Set in the cities, reserves and rural reaches of Alberta, Katie Bickwell's debut novel is told in a series of stories that span the years from 1990 to 2016. Through cycles of boom and bust in the oil fields, government budget cuts and workers' rights policies, the rising opioid crisis and the intersectional lives of people whose communities sometimes stretch farther than they know. We meet a teenage runaway who goes into labor at the West Edmonton Mall, a doctor managing hospital overflow in a time of healthcare cutbacks, a broke dad making extra pay through a phone sex line, a young musician who dreams of fame beyond the reservation, and a dedicated hockey mom grappling with sense of self when she's no longer needed or welcome at the rink. Always Brave, Sometimes Kind captures a network of friends, caregivers, in-laws, and near misses, with each character's life coming into greater focus as we learn more about the people around them. Tracing alliances and betrayals from different perspectives over decades, Bickwell writes an ode to home and community that is both warm and gritty, well-defined and utterly complicated. This is Katie Bickwell and her novel Always Brave, Sometimes Kind. Short stories, connected short stories. I like that concept actually a lot. And we have another Canadian book, and this is the last book for September, for my new books in September, and this is a book that's also connected to my native country, to Germany. And this is a novel by Shaena Lambert, which already has been published by Random House Canada on September 1 this year, last week, and this is called Petra. Inspired by Petra Kelly, the original Green Party leader and political activist who fought for the planet in 1980s Germany, Shaena Lambert brings us a captivating new novel about a woman who changed history and transformed environmental politics, and who, like many history-changing women, has been largely erased. Award-winning novelist Marilynne Teen calls Petra a masterpiece, a fierce, humane and powerful novel for our times. January 1980. At the height of the Cold War, Petra Kelly inspires hundreds of thousands to take to the streets to protest the placement of nuclear missiles on West German soil, something which I remember very, very vividly when I was very young. Including a NATO general named Emil Gerhard, who shocks the establishment by converting to the cause. Petra and her general not only vault to fame as the stars of the Green Party, but they also fall in love. Then Manfred Schwartz, an ex-lover, urges Petra to draw back the curtain on Emil's war record, and they enter a world both complicated and threatening. Told by Manfred Schwartz, from his place in a present world even more beset by existential threats, Petra is an exploration of love, jealousy, and the power of social change. A woman capable of founding a new and world-changing politics and taking on two superpowers, Petra still must grapple with her own complex nature and a singular and fatal love. That was really, I remember her story very well, and I remember I was like 17, 18 years old, how captivating this personality of Petra Kelly was in Germany. She was one of the major founders of the Green Party, of the ecological movement in Germany, which was regarded by the old establishment as the radical left, the people who wanted to destroy the country. But they were very conscious about that we were about to destroy the planet and its resources in the end of the 1970s and early 1980s. And Petra Kelly was one of those figures talking for the environment and talking for peace. She thought it was crazy, it was absolutely disgusting that both the United States, the NATO, and the Warsaw Pact, the Soviet Union, were building nuclear missiles that could destroy the world 50, 60, 70 times. And she did a lot of things to fight that in a peaceful way. And she was in that relationship with this older general, Gerd Bastian was his actual name. He has been changed in the novel. And one day, I don't remember actually when it was, Petra, Kelly, and Gerd Bastian were found dead in their apartment. They had committed consensual suicide, and that was really shocking the whole world. And this Petra must be a very interesting novel, and Shaena Lambert has written a very interesting part of German history and of world history of the Western world, and of the Can't wait to read one of those books. Petra is definitely something that I want to read. Katie Bickwell is something that I would love to see, and even some of the others, but as I told you many times in the past couple of weeks, I'm not going to buy extensively books now, so I will have to wait, and my TBR is going to grow. One more thing, I wanted to talk about reads that I had last week. I actually finished one novel already last Sunday, but it counts because we were like 45 minutes into this new week, number 36, and this is The Janes by Louise Luna, a crime thriller set in San Diego with this female superhero of Alice Vega and her male sidekick Max Kaplan. This is kind of entertaining, good stuff. It has not the same kind of pace that I love so much about Michael Connelly's work, for example, and the plot is not something very special, although the novel is, Louise Luna's novel is already finished after 150 pages, you think, because the first sort of thing that the major thing in the investigation is solved then, but then things start to develop in a different way, and it's a story about police corruption and police involved in the bad deeds, which is very often in American thrillers. So there's not only a mistrust towards the American police in many of the current events. There's also a lot of mistrust, has always been a lot of mistrust against the police in terms of corruption in a lot of American thriller literatures. I could name you lots of books. Read Michael Connelly. I mean, there's so much about internal stuff going on there that you really think, oh my God, what are they doing here? My TBR changes all the time. I wanted to read C-Pam Zhang's How Much of These Hills is Gold, but the problem is I own that book. It's mine. So the library, I have reserved books at the library, and I don't know when they are coming in for me. I get a notification, I get a text message, and then they say pick up that book at the library now. You have 1 week to pick it up. So I picked up 2 books this week that are jumping onto my TBR now, and they actually have to do with the Booker Prize that I was almost ready to forget. This is actually the first book that I read from Anne Tyler. Many of you have said that you have read much more of her, that she's a very good author, but that you sort of know her way of writing, and that you weren't so interested in Redhead by the Side of the Road. Since I haven't read anything of Anne Tyler, I thought I'd do that now and read Redhead by the Side of the Road, which is on the long list for the Booker Prize. It's a pretty, it's not such a long novel. It has 180 pages, and I'm optimistic to finish that in the beginning of the next week. Then the next book, I don't know if I will be able to finish that. This is a novel by, also on the Booker long list. This is by Irish-American author Colin McCann, and it's called A Paragon. Colin McCann has, after his nomination on the long list, been accused of sexual assault against at least one woman, and there were talks about other women on Twitter, but this sort of story has been silenced, or it's silent now, so I don't know. A Paragon is a novel about And he has won the National Book Award before. So he might also be a candidate for the long list of the National Book Award since he's an American citizen. This is a novel about Israel and Palestine, about two men, Rami Elhanan and Bassam Aramin, who live near one another but in two different worlds. One is Israeli, the other one is Palestinian. Rami's license plate is yellow, Bassam's license plate is green. It takes Rami 15 minutes to drive to the West Bank. The same journey for Bassam takes an hour and a half. And both of them have lost daughters in the conflict between Israel and Palestine. And these men, I think, become the best of friends. So now I have both A Paragon here by Colin McCann, and I have N. Tyler's Redhead by the Side of the Road, both books, American books that are on the long list of the Booker Prize. And I see what I can read of them. Redhead by the Side of the Road, I'm very optimistic to do that one in the next couple of days. Colin McCann's A Paragon, I will give it a try at least. Maybe I have to pick it up again, because it's a very long novel and it is a very demanded novel by other readers. Here in Stockholm I have only 2 weeks to read through the 460 pages of this one. After that, hopefully, see Pam's eyeing, but my TBRs, they always change. I don't know how it is with you. You can write that down in the comments below, how your plans of reading change, or are they consistent? Are you really following your plans from A to Z, or are you always changing your plans from day to day and from week to week? Sometimes I finish a book and I don't know what next to read, and then I pick up something by just gut feeling and go through it. A week 36, and it was also a video about new books in September that I am interested in, that you might be interested in. Tell me what books you are interested in September, and write me a comment down below. What are you going to pick up? What book are you waiting for to buy this month? And you rush to the next bookshop if it is open, or you order online at your favorite indie bookseller, wherever you buy your books and wherever you borrow your books. Yeah, I think that's about it. I see you soon, hopefully, and as always, I'm grateful that you watched this video, and I'm grateful to wait for your comments that you write down below so we get in contact with each other, we can communicate. That's one of the reasons why I'm on BookTube, because I want to talk to people who go into the same sort of alleys where I like to be. Thank you very much. Have a great weekend. Bye bye.